Hi, now we are going to talk about the aggregators. So actually aggregators is we are already using all the most of the built-in aggregators, right? We have already used the aggregator functions. For now, for again to test the aggregator, let's consider this function which returns the square of some numbers, right? Again, this function is not returning any value. It is instead of return keyword, it is using yield keyword. This means that it is a generator now. Let's run this now. We can take the square of 5, right? So basically this will give you the square of all the number between 0 to 5, right? And now we are converting to a list so that we can reveal the value. This is the value we have. Now we can find the mean and the max element in the iterables, right? So we can check the mean of square of 5, we can check the max of square of 5, right? So now we know the value, right? But here we have this generator, right? But be careful that all these aggregator functions will exhaust any iterator being used, right? So here, let's say that here we are not here we are like this time, like here we have used the another object, and here also we have used another object. But consider this object, right? So here we have just one object, right? SQ is just one iterator object, right? And then I'm using the same iterator object for the max, and again I'm using the same iterator object with the mean. But this time we are getting error, right? Because once this iterator is being used, we no longer use this iterator anymore, right? That's the reason we'll get error over here, right? But again, we can also use the sum functions. Here we have this list, so this is the value we have. We can do the sum of the iterator object, we'll get the sum total sum value. Now let's talk about the any function. So what the any function does, basically it returns true or false. So it just takes the iterable value and return true and false. So it checks that if all the values, or sorry, it checks that if any of the value in the sequence or in the iterator is true, so it will return true, otherwise it will return false. So basically it works like an OR operations, right? Now if we even create a custom object, right? So let's say that here we have the person class. This is a simple class. Now we are getting the object of the class. When we check the boolean of p, this will give you the true. So even the custom object will return true, right? By default, right? So here for number, anything that is other than 0 is true thing. That means, let's say that if you have the 0 number, that is the, so the boolean value will be false, right? And if we have the sequence data like the so not sequence data, but let's say that if we have the sequence and the non-sequence data both, string, list, tuple, dictionary, all this, if all these objects are empty, so the boolean value will be false, right? So this is how it works, right? So even this work with the custom data. If the length is 0, so here we have this my sequence, we have this length module implementation, then we have this get item. In the length, this will return the value, right? So of n. So when we create, let's create this class. Now when we create the object of this class by passing n as 0, this means that this object will have the length of 0, right? Now when we check the boolean of this my sequence, this is returning false, right? Now let's say that here we have this n as 10. When we check the boolean of the value, this will give you the true. So any function can be used to quickly test if the element is empty or not, or if the element is truthy or not. Let's say that here we have this 0, and then we have this empty string, we have this none. When we check the any, it's like the boolean of the OR operation in all those three elements. Here we'll get false, right here. Now, these three elements are, so the boolean of these three elements are false, but the boolean of this string is true. So this any will return true. So this is much like an OR operation on the boolean value, right? Here, let's check that. Here we have this result, right? when we check the result and the boolean of the result. So the result value is hello, but the boolean value will be true because this is the result value we have, right? And their boolean value is true, right? Now we have the all operations or all functions. This is very much simply to the any functions, but instead of calculating the or operation, it calculate the and operations, right? So it just take the boolean of all the value and do the and operation between them. So that is how all functions work. Let's use it. Here we are calculating all functions. So here all the value have the boolean value true. So we'll get true over here. But here in this code, the boolean of this empty string will be false because one value is false. So it will give you false. So all will check if all the value are truthy or not, or all the value have the true boolean or not. And any will check if any of the value are truthy or any of the values is giving or having the true boolean or not, right? Now in practice, we can use all this combinedly, right? We can also use the map function, but let's see first how the map function can be used. So suppose if we want to test if the iterable contains only the numeric number or not, right? So here we have this lot of functions, right? Lot of options we have, right? But for that, we can use the number class. We can use this number class to test if that object is number or not. So we want to test if the iterable contains the numeric value or not. Now to check if any value is number or not, we can use the number class. So let's import this number from the numbers module. Now isInstance function will help you to check whether this 10 is number or not. And same thing is happening over here. So even these values is even number, right? So even if you have the decimal object, that decimal object is also belongs to a number. Even the boolean values comes under the number. But this is a string. This is not the number object, so this will give you the false. So this is a list. List is also the not number, right? So this will give you false over here as well, right? So now suppose we have a list and we want to see if all they are number or not, right? So we can proceed with, so let's say that we have some not a good writing technique, right? So this is like the amateur way of writing the code. And we have the list, we have this one variable with the boolean value is true, and then we are iterating all the item of the list. We are checking that whether we are using the isInstance function to check that whether this item belongs to a number class or not. If it is not, then we'll set this variable value to a false, and then we'll break the loop. And then we are printing this variable value. So this variable value will decide whether this all the number are true or not. Here the value we are getting as true because all the number are true. In this sense, here this string is not a number. So this variable will set to false. And then when we print this is all number, this will give you false over here, right? So now we can actually simplify this by using else clause as well. Like here we have this, right? So here we have this is all number, we have this list. Then again, we have the same code, but here we are checking that. Here we're checking that whether this item is not a number, then it will break the code. And then we have the else part. Else this variable will become true, right? So now here we have added the for loop with the else block, right? But we have the better way. We can use the all function. We can combine the all function with the map function. Let's now learn how the map function work. So here now the map function takes two parameters. First it takes first it takes the function, and the second it takes the iterable object. So here the map we are passing the string, and then we are passing the iterable object. Now when we run this code, we'll get this map object. So again, this is a kind of iterable object or a kind of generator, right? So again, this is a lazy kind of learning happening over here. So here to get all the value or to calculate all the value, we can put entire thing into the list, and then we can reveal what the output is. Here we can check that what it has does. So it has done is it has taken all the value and converted to a string. This is what happening over here, right? Now Now the function we want to use is instance functions, right? But this is instance function over here, instead of string function, we want to use the is instance function. But this is instance function takes two parameters, right? So here what we want is we want to convert this to somehow which takes one parameter, because this function takes only one parameter. So what we can do is we can create one functions. So here we have created a function called is number, right, which takes the parameter and the return whether this parameter or whether this x belongs to a number or not, number class or not. So this is a simple function. Now we can also convert this to a lambda functions. So here is a lambda version, a lambda version of the same function, right, which takes x and return the is instance x of a number or not, right? So this is a lambda function. Now we have this list. Now we want to use this list, the map function. So what we are doing is we are passing this lambda function. We can use any of the function, and then we have this L, this iterable object. What this will do is so each value of the L will go to the lambda function and check whether this belongs to its instance or not. And because this is the kind of iterable or iterator, so map is kind of a generator object, right? So it will retain all the value, right? So map will retain all the value, right? And when you convert this to a list, it will give you the value. So here it is giving you true, 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 and false. So each object is passed to the is instance, and then we are getting the values true or not. So here we have this one false and all the true. Now we have all the output. Now we can pass this entire output to the all functions, and that's it, right? Now all will decide whether this all is true or false, right? If all will be true, so it will turn true, otherwise it will turn false. Here we are turning false. Now in this case, we are returning true, right? We can also use directly map, right? We do not have to convert this over here. Like here we are using this is instance directly over here, right? We are using this generator expressions. Like here, first we are taking this loop, and then each value we are passing to the is instance, and then this function is directly passing to the all function over here. We are directly passing this function to the all function without using the map function. So we can even solve this using the generator expressions. Now this will even work, right? We can check that. So both will work, right? Now let's look at the second examples. Now in the second example, we have a file, right? So we and this file, so we have the file called car-brand.txt, right? Now what we want is we want to make sure that all the row in the file have the length which is greater than some number or not. So we want to calculate the length of each row, and then we want to test whether this belongs to some, or like whether this length is greater than some number or not. So we can simply use, let's see what's there in the file. So here we are reading the file, and then we are taking this loop, right? And then we are printing the length of the each row, right? And then we are printing the row over here. We can see that. So we have this car brand names, and this is the calculated length, and this is the actual value we have, right? Now what we want to is we want to calculate whether this value belongs to, or the length of this each row is passing some threshold or not, right? Here we can use this. So what we're trying to do is here we want to check that whether the each row of the file is at least 3 characters long or not. So again we are reading the file, and now we know that f is the iterator object, right? So we are passing this iterator object directly to the map function, and this map function takes this lambda function as it is, which checks, like, so we are passing each row, and then we are checking the length of the row, and then if the length of the row is greater than equal to some threshold value, like here the greater than equal to 3, right? So it will turn true, otherwise it will turn false. And then the entire value we are passing through the all functions. So this entire output we are passing through the all functions, right? And this will return a one number, either it is true or false. Here you can get that, right? Here we are calculating whether this all the character is crossing the 10 length or not. We can check that. Here this true. Here we are crossing if all the row is greater than 13 or not. We have the false, because not all the number are crossing the 13 over here. and here we can check that, right? Now, so this is like, now here we are using any operation, right? Here we have used the all operation. Now here we are using any operation. That means if any of the number is crossing the 10, that will be true. And here also, if any of the number, if any of the length is crossing 13, then it will be true. And here there is no, so we only have the one row which has the 13 value, the 13 length, but it is not crossing, not greater than 30. So we are getting false over here. We can even use the generator technique, like we can even use this generator expression over here. So we are taking the loop and each row we are passing, so we are calculating the length and then we are directly checking whether this is greater than 13 or not, and then we are passing to the any expressions, any aggregator function, and that's it. We'll have this, so here we'll have the output. So here we have the output as false, right? So this is it. This is how we use the aggregator functions, right? Thank you very much.